it's telling that you were able to leave those positions not
Live.
without financial
Here we
sacrifice,
are
but because you probably have
on
some
YouTube
savings. And
Live.
I am
Live
so
10, welcome.
disappointed by the lack
Instagram
of leadership
Live.
on this. I am
Live
grateful for the
9.
opportunity to speak about these things, but I think that it's
And
ridiculous
every day
that
there's
the
something,
associate is the one that had to lead the charge on this when
call it
people like the
live.
former second gentleman are employed at firms
Sometimes
where
it seems to
credit
be
deals
advice.
it's not
Sometimes
enough
it just
to
seems to be
criticize
fun
and have to
facts.
leave.
What do you, are there any firms
I
doing the right
wish
thing?
I
Are
had
there any
time
firms, in your view, are
to
there
share
any firms
everything, you know.
standing up against this?
There are 9 firms in the AmLaw 100, so the top 100 grossing law firms.
Right
in the country,
now, I don't
who
know if
signed on
anybody
to an amicus
cares,
brief
but
supportive of Perkins Coie. It was the first target of the Trump executive order. And I think that while there are other firms that are fighting the Trump administration on an individual
on
level, and I think
Facebook
that that's very admirable,
and
unless you are standing
Instagram.
up before you are targeted.
I can't
right?
change
That's why
my
I put in
profile picture on
conditional notice
Facebook,
prior to Skadden entering
even
the
though
deal,
it's been
because
like
this moment
a few days
demands proactivity.
already.
Unless you're one of
So
those
I'm a little
9 firms
upset
that
about
signed
that.
amicus brief, I don't know that you can argue that you're doing the right thing.
President Trump is doing all he
I
can
gotta pay
to
my
stop
phone
the
bill.
man
I'm
from
switching
returning
over.
to the United
I
States. He
had
was mistakenly deported to El
T-Mobile,
Salvador. Mr. Trump has filed an emergency appeal to the Supreme Court over
I'm gonna go with the Google Fi, so
Garcia. Just minutes after the request.
Are there any
Federal
firms?
I gotta
authorities
stop by
are
somewhere.
In your view, are there any firms?
So it's a lot more than I thought it'd be, you know. You know the saying, if it's too good to be true, then it's too good to be true.
It was the first
target
of the Trump executive order.
But has said the issue is somehow out of their hands because he's now in Salvador.
But here we are nonetheless live.
Alvarez joins us now from Washington. You have been following this so closely. And what we're
I think what
curious
helped
about are
on
the
the
timelines
YouTube
that we're looking at now, right? We've got this
was having a
deadline,
thumbnail.
and yet we have more court action, and then
So that way it doesn't
isn't
like
returned by midnight.
process the video
Well, Paul, it's certainly been a
to choose a
dizzying
random
72
thumbnail.
hours of
So
will they or
I think
won't
that helped
they
a
when it
lot.
comes to the return of Arellano Garcia. Now, as you just mentioned, there have been
Again, get a
additional
new
filings
setup tomorrow.
over the
Pretty
course of the
excited about
weekend, but
that.
also today, of course, the Fourth Circuit weighing in after that appeal from the Trump administration, essentially denying the administration's request to put a stay on the lower court order. What that means is essentially that their administration is still expected to return Abreu Garcia.
I know
But the
AI has
next
been out
factor
for a long
here
time,
is
but
that the administration
I've been getting into it a lot
also put a
recently.
filing, with the Supreme Court, essentially asking the Supreme Court to weigh in to put this lower court ruling on hold. And we're still waiting the Supreme Court's decision on this very issue. But what we have seen
be a little
in
more
the
productive.
filings are 2 things in particular. One, the administration is maintaining
I do want
that they
to
cannot
increase
return
my
him
work ethic
because
just a
he
bit.
is in Salvador,
You know,
custody there for the U.S.
I know some people might say I'm hard on myself,
that a federal
but
judge can direct the government to return him. What we're also seeing is that the
it is
courts
what
are
it
highly
is.
skeptical of what the administration
I had the
is
premium
saying,
on
because, again,
LinkedIn. I got the
administration did
Pinterest. I got
say
the
that they made an
Yelp. I got the
administrative error
Reddit.
with this deportation. There
So,
was a
yeah.
procedure that had to be followed here to terminate protected status that Abreu Garcia had that essentially kept him
They're talking about
from
some
being
guy that
deported to El Salvador, and that was flouted in the process. And so the courts have essentially been
got
saying that there hasn't been
deported
any attempt to
somehow on
facilitate the
accident
return as far as
to
they
an
can
El
tell, and
Salvador
also
prison.
that the
That's pretty
administration has
serious.
already admitted that they made an error in this case. Now,
You
there has been a
know,
good
this
bit of
has been
whiplash. We did get
brought
a
up by
hearing,
my
I'm sorry, a
therapist. I do
statement
have a
from
counselor slash
Abreu
therapist, so
Garcia's
someone
wife.
I
She's a
speak
U.S.
to, right?
citizen, and she said this,
Like
quote,
a case
"My
manager.
children, family, and I will continue praying and seeking justice. Now that the court has spoken, I ask again that both President Trump and President Bukele stop attempting any further delays.
You know,
they need to follow
about the
court's
possibility.
order. Now, my children are waiting to be reunited with their father tonight. Now, they have
this
3
happening,
children.
right? Being
she was in court on Friday.
a
There
natural
was
born
a
citizen
moment of relief when the federal judge had ordered his return
and still
by
facing
the end of
deportation.
the day today, but certainly it appears there is
'Cause I
still
guess,
a long road ahead. It may be hours, it could be longer than that.
I guess this happened in history before. Some type of act, I forgot, in like the 1900s, 1800s or something. Don't quote me on any of it.
But their point is that the courts can't tell them what to do when it comes to returning someone to the United States. Meanwhile, the courts are saying if you made a mistake, you need to correct it.
Yeah, we were looking like we have yet another legal confrontation there. Priscilla Alvaro is grateful to you to keeping on top of this, and we'll continue to update the story.
Let's get a perspective of a doctor who is really on the front lines of this fight. Dr. Peter Hotez is a dean at the Baylor College of Medicine and the co-director on the Texas Children's Hospital Center for Vaccine Development. He's also the author of the book, Vaccines Did Not Cause Rachel's Autism, My Journey as a Vaccine Scientist, Pediatrician, and Autism Dad. Peter, thank you so much for being with us. I really do want to ask you about your books. I think it's really important, the underlying message in that. Before I do, I'm not sure if you heard our correspondent there, Meg Terrell, essentially saying that the numbers in Texas and the surrounding states could obviously be much higher. We could be talking about thousands of kids infected with measles instead of just sort of a few hundred that have been confirmed. RFK Jr. has come out and said he's gone further than he has in the past. Somebody coming out and saying, listen, the best way to prevent measles is through the vaccine. We actually have the tweet there. The most effective way to prevent the spread of measles is the MMR vaccine. As Meg was saying, clearly he is going further than he's ever gone, but he still needs to come out and say that it is safe. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a long history with Mr. Kennedy, which is actually the reason I wrote the book, Vaccines Did Not Cause Rachel's Autism, was based on my year-long series of conversations with RFK Jr. And so here's what needs to happen. I think first of all, I'm glad he made the statement, but as also as pointed out, it's insufficient. The reason is because he's still planning on. He hasn't walked back his proposal to reopen investigations looking at vaccines as a link to autism, even though that's one of the most thoroughly debunked now conspiracies in some ways that we've. After 20 more years of investigations, he's not walked that back. He's not publicly rebuked his anti-vaccine organization, Children's Health Defense, that he launched a few years back, and he was a board chair, and he needs to do that. So there's a lot more work to be done in order to restore vaccine
I'm on Yelp.
confidence.
I'm giving an opinion and review on the library. It's a home for the homeless, they say.
And to maintain vaccine
confidence
in our U.S. vaccine ecosystem.
And Dr. Hotez, first of all, it's good to see you again. It's been a while. This comes at a time when HHS and other government agencies have just been gutted by Elon Musk under his DOGE supervision there, and eliminating tens of thousands of jobs. We saw RFK Jr. eliminate just as
dropped
many,
a little
20,000 jobs
canoe
so.
in the
HHS,
urinal yesterday.
And again, also doing it in a very ad hoc,
left the Mr. Hanky in there, you know.
manner where you have some top
that was kind of funny,
experts
but
in really
yeah.
Important areas in fields losing their jobs as it relates to pandemics and outbreaks. And I'd like to play or read to you what the ousted FDA vaccine chief, Peter Marks, wrote in the Wall Street Journal over the weekend. And he said they broke something without real plans to fix it because the people who were doing the breaking didn't have any idea. They took the place apart without having an instruction manual of how to put it back together. Your reaction to that Wall Street Journal op-ed, and what does that mean for average Americans?
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, Peter Marks has been one of our lead vaccine officers at the FDA, the head of the Center for Biologics Evaluation Research, and did a lot of important work for Operation Warp Speed to get Americans vaccinated against COVID-19.
Man, they did a
By the way,
sick
COVID
joke right
vaccines
here.
saved an estimated 3.2 million American lives. So we have to take that very seriously. And I agree with him that the cuts to HHS in terms of personnel and staffing seem somewhat capricious, do not really have an overriding theme. And remember, it's not just the cuts to HHS staff, because there's been an effort through DOGE to decimate grants going out to the states from the NIH. And so they've introduced an enormous amount of uncertainty in the careers of young and mid-career biomedical scientists who are now learning their grants are not going to be funded or could be imminently cut. So this has created an enormous amount of instability. And my big worry also is young scientists looking at this are saying, hey, what am I signing up for here? And do I really want to become a biomedical scientist, or do I want to do this in the United States? So So the way this is being done, not only Mr. Kennedy, but across the HHS agencies and going straight to the White House, is having
Straight to the White
detrimental
House.
effect on our
Tablet's not
entire
working.
biomedical research enterprise and our vaccine ecosystem, which is extremely fragile. As I often say,
Yesterday.
it doesn't take much of a breakdown to
Don't know why it's
to
not
allow
working.
these childhood epidemics to occur, just like what we're seeing with measles now. And my worry with prolonged transmission, we could even lose our measles elimination status. So there's a lot at risk, a lot at stake right now.
A lot of risk. A lot at stake right now.
All your secrets compromised. Everything you are. Everything you've done. Has come to this.
Here's your latest look at Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, the eighth and supposedly final film in the franchise that's made close to $4 billion worldwide, arrives in theaters May 23rd.
Dear Lord, no, not this again.
The Handmaid's Tale has brought back some familiar faces.
The costumes on the show really do a lot of the work. It's like cheating. And once I'm kind of zipped up and in Naomi's stilts with the giant bun,
The heels.
really bring it home.
Who amongst us hasn't been tempted?
And introduce some new ones.
I hope that they feel that it ends, in a way that feels like it does service to, it does service to the story, but also feels correct. It feels right.
The sixth and final season of The Handmaid's Tale debuts today on Hulu. In Hollywood, I'm David Dan.
In the Bay Area, 1 in 4 families struggle to make ends meet. These are neighbors, single parents, and households big and small, doing their best to survive. And every day demands more. That's why at United Way Bay Area, we give people resources and opportunities to thrive. So they can turn pain into power, the grind into growth, and
Oh
struggle
my God.
into story. Let's build a United Bay Area. Give today at uwba.org.
Time flies, Not enough hours in a day. Who does that? Who gets on live and still messages people, Oh. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. That's my song. Turn it up.
Inside Gaza, swaths of land
How you doing, my love?
closest to the Israeli border have been turned into
This
a
right here.
wasteland.
I do this every day.
Nearly every building within about a half a mile
12
of the
to
border
1.
fence has been destroyed.
Instagram
Film
live
this footage a
9.
year
Welcome.
ago, while demolitions
Taking all
were still
Q&As.
ongoing.
And then
Over time, the Israeli military
YouTube
has
Live
released about
2.
22 square miles of Palestinian
Live
land,
10 right now.
creating a
So
buffer zone
just
on about
fixing the tablet, getting ready
16% of
for
Gaza's territory. It is a no-go
my
zone
new
for
computer,
Palestinians, some of whom have been killed after setting foot
tomorrow.
inside the unmarked perimeter. Now, for the
So,
first time, an Israeli soldier sat down
for today,
with us to describe how
today
the
in a few
military
hours.
systematically
So not really
destroyed
sleeping.
civilian
Did a lot of
infrastructure
shopping
to
today for
create
the
this
house
buffer
or
zone.
whatever.
Some of them, the buildings were destroyed completely. And some were still standing. And our job was to make more
Yeah.
of the first kind.
So,
But the fact that there were still buildings standing meant that the mission was
but
Yeah, we destroyed them one by
I
one.
did message
in
you
very
back right now.
methodical fashion, area by area.
a sergeant first class in the 5th Infantry Brigade. He was called up to reserve duty on
Nothing
October
new
7th,
here.
and was later deployed here.
I was on the
in
TikTok
industrial
live
zone
too
of
for a little
Gaza
bit.
City's Shujaiya neighborhood,
But
protecting combat engineers as they
know.
bulldoze buildings and rig
It's
tunnels
not-
to explode.
it's not the same.
We blurred his face and changed his voice because he
Yeah.
risks reprisals for speaking out about a policy the Israeli military has never officially acknowledged.
Was it clear to
Was it
you
clear to
that
this was not the actions
one
of
commander.
one unit.
Definitely. I know other units were doing the same up north and then down south. I know it came from up high. What did they tell you about?
No, you're into, but
raise these buildings, establish the security.
One was better the lesser. We're going to have a larger buffer zone, larger than before. And the other was that the October 7th, this industrial zone was used as a launching ground.
Over the course of the war, this one-time economic hub was flattened. This video, which CNN geolocated, shows the destruction of Gaza's only Coca-Cola factory. But it's not just factories. In the town of Gaza, hundreds of homes were leveled. Clear zone of destruction spanning about 1 kilometer from the border. Residential buildings, greenhouses, sheds, factories, you name it, it needs to be flat.
People are so tripod. I see you. People are
Except for the
tribal.
undertow when that small water vessel was directed, there was nothing left. He is one of a dozen Israeli soldiers who described the demolitions and enforcement of buffer zone to breaking the silence. Israeli watchdog that verifies and publishes soldiers' testimonials. Some also described how the buffer adult male kill, shoot to kill, women and children
Shoot to kill. You heard him?
People were incriminated for having bags in their hands. Words officer in the IDF said, guy showed up with a bag, incriminated terrorists. I believe they came to pick up an edible plant. The army says no, they're hiding. Boom.
The kill zone is in essence the announcement of a party to the board that they won't take physical precautions, but they won't verify the status of it before attacking them. And that definitely violates international law.
Is this kind of widespread destruction of civilian property to create a buffer zone under international law?
Like I said, new computer. It works. Everything works fine. It's just. Could be better. Always could be.
The Israeli military.
It looks like Beverly Hills.
For comments. More than
6,200
Palestinian buildings have been damaged or destroyed within 1 kilometer of the Gaza border.
With the Gucci bag though, huh?
Here in Al Burej, homes and acres of farmland were destroyed.
Rolly.
For 40 years,
it's the Rolly store with my Rolly on.
Olives, oranges, and guavas on that land. But that has all been ripped away from them.
Oh my God.
When they announced the 40-day truce, we went back.
The Ralph Lauren store though.
Trees were bulldozed. He has lost so much more. Abdulaziz says his son Mahmoud went to collect firewood near their home. He was shelled by an Israeli tank. Killed. The Israeli military did not respond to requests for comments. They knew they were only collecting wood, not resisting or fighting, just a carpet of wood clearly visible. Still, they were targeted. Israelis did this intentionally. Even now, he says, kill anyone who goes there.
It's been crazy 5 or 6 years now as a pro. I remember the first year, I miss every time on PJ Tour. Just been a lot of growing, and that's what this life is about, what golf's about. But more so just growing up and becoming the person I am, and you learn so much, especially as a young kid. So it's just such a different lifestyle, but I would never trade for the world. I've learned so much so young. Just so grateful for everything that's kind of come to fruition.
Those are nice. Oh, that's trespassing.
Have you ever thought about talking up or
7 comments, huh?
Have you thought about that? Oh yeah. No, I'm in the process of it. It's not easy to make.
That's full screen here.
Yeah, I'm definitely tired of people asking about my waist size and stuff like that. How do you affect yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be here without that.
Oh, okay.
My dad travels me all the time. And we're
no captions. It's like if you don't, you got one, she not hustling, you know? The drone footage.
And that's a turkey. He arrested animal. Predicts right? To keep going. So many weeks later, especially so many weeks later. But actually, for years, they are just galvanized by perhaps, but there are many factors that is demonstration.
Stop.
So I think Jeannie is out of the bottle, out of the dice cast. So this is the moment where there is no return. To see Turkey, a country that has lost its democracy, to a dictator, whether this country is able to take back its democracy. The arrest of the it was inevitable. It was inevitable. But he's a larger and he was the only political rival against Erdogan, and his opinion poll was so in favor of him. Simply, Erdogan
prison
simply
is political
Erdogan's
rival.
prison is political
A
rival.
lot of videos.
Might do galvanizing factors,
galvanizing
underneath
factors, but
the demonstrations are for
the
asking democracy,
demonstrations are for asking
and their
democracy,
main demand is
and their
dignity
main
and freedom.
demand is dignity and
So
freedom.
yes, Economomoli is the reason, but accumulation of things in the last 20 years under Erdogan regime.
And in the last 20 years, I mean, now you have a system where 90% of the media is government controlled. I know you and many others have compared this to the Gezi Park protest movement in 2013. Can you talk about the similarities here? And what, if any, lessons have been learned that organizers of this movement can take with them?
Diana, the main difference is that this time people went onto the street, knowing the street. There was a protest ban already, so they went on the streets against the ban. They knew that they were going to meet with massive police violence, which happened. And the other difference is, of course, this is another world now. Of course, this is another world now. There was more democracy in the world. There was more
democracy. Watch all these.
In America, or several other leaders, similar leaders,
videos.
Europe. So the world was watching. In a favorable way.
One kid video.
Got
that somewhere.
Turkey is different. There's a lot of oppression, much more oppression than 2013, and the world is different. It is more silent when it comes to masses demanding democracy. That is a very, very dark and unfortunate side, of course.
Now, some of the richest business leaders are sounding alarms over President Trump's tariffs. On Sunday, a billionaire investor, who endorsed Trump, laid his worst fears out on social media. In fact, for the first time, he laid them on the table. He says the tariffs are tantamount to launching an economic nuclear war, and that if Mr. Trump follows through his plan, investment will blind the whole consumers will pay a hefty price. JP Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon says the tariffs threaten to raise prices and drive the global economy down and weaken America's standing in the world. Even Elon Musk, who has virtually been a lockstep member with the president on most issues, said he wants a zero tariff situation.
Oh my God.
Senior international correspondent is trying to follow all of this from Paris. I would say it is quite a turnaround from these gentlemen. I followed quite closely during the campaign in terms of how they would interpret this into the best economic interest. Why the change of heart now? And I think it does not seem at the moment that the White House or Donald Trump are actually listening. Doesn't seem like they're on listening mode, but really you saw that little bounce in the markets and there's a story that there might be this pause. I think everyone is really watching to see what impact precisely some of those viewpoints and their feelings from the real economy and the markets will have on President Trump and have room to maneuver what face-saving mechanisms may be to allow him to roll back or take a softer stance. For now, we'll get into that, of course, as you've been explaining over the course of the meeting, just as to Elon Musk's comments specifically, speaking to meeting the Italian far-right over the course of the weekend. Now, we've also been hearing from European trade ministers who gathered in Luxembourg for an extraordinary meeting to discuss all of this, the European response.
Oh, I got blocked.
One of them went in, one of these European ministers, he spoke directly to that, saying, look,
that's crazy.
Comments by Elon Musk smack of either fear or desperation, that it is time maybe that he speaks to his own president about what he's doing. For now, as Anna was saying, for now, European Union's message, both from Ursula von der Leyen, but also coming out of that trade ministers and economy ministers meeting earlier in Luxembourg. They're offering those zero-for-zero tariffs on cars, industrial goods, but Ursula von der Leyen pointed out, this has been a long standing out.
Isn't that where you're supposed to buy pictures?
Strong arm into this position. It is something
I don't even know anymore.
Well before these latest so-called reciprocal tariffs were placed, the Europeans are no longer calling them that. They say horizontal because they don't believe they are reciprocal at all. There is a two-pronged approach emerging from Europe this afternoon. First of all, that offer of zero-to-zero tariffs, the idea that negotiation is still possible, but also, as Ursula von der Leyen said, we are now laser-focused on trading partners outside of the United States
pointing out to the 83% of the global trade that is done without the US and sheep meats, that this will
I don't know.
isolate the United States, since trading blocs like the EU are simply going to be looking elsewhere. She mentioned Mexico, India, Indonesia, the Indo-Pacific, and that is the other part of the European response to this, even as they hope that Washington will engage and negotiate with back. And remember, that's a big day for us here.
That's kind of weird.
The CEO of Marlin says he's thrilled with the tariffs. His plan makes industries ranging from aerospace to food processing. Here's what one factory. Here's what one factory. One of the products that we very optimistic.
We're very excited about this new Well, absolutely. You have to have automation and we make everything we make everything about everything
if you trade in equity. So among those who own stock are your employees because you offer your employees a 401k match.
That's what I
Have
know.
any of them said anything to you about their concerns about the direction of the stock market, particularly any who might be close to retirement?
We absolutely have had a couple people anxious about the stock market. But again, our goal is that we're going to sell millions more dollars, so we have to hire many more people. If we do that, we're going to hire them at very good jobs, very good pay, wonderful benefits with the 401k match. True, there's some companies that have been buying T-shirts from Vietnam and China, and they're going to have to pay a couple more bucks for a T-shirt, and then the American consumers going to have to pay more for a T-shirt. That's obviously not pleasant for those American consumers, but I think there's going to be an overwhelming surge of hiring in America as things level out, as American factories ramp up, and people have to hire talent and buy machines. We've invested money in buying new machines. We're so enthusiastic, so optimistic about the future. That's going to start happening throughout the nation, and people are going to be leaning into the future. This is a very
Watching some
exciting
videos
time
here.
for manufacturing. We're going to be able to pull people from poverty into the middle class. They used to not have an avenue.
That's crazy. I got blocked right now.
Getting into the middle class. We're going to be able to offer them a shot.
Very glad. Thank you so much. We'll have you back. Like recession warning, some applaud President Trump's tariffs. The CEO of Marlin Steel in Baltimore, Maryland, says he's thrilled with the tariffs.
I'm pretty sure I got blocked.
Wire baskets and sheet metal for industries ranging from aerospace to food processing. Here's what one factory worker of his told us.
One of the products that we made was
there's the live for today. Your boy got blocked, I guess.
It's exciting. So very optimistic about it.
Joining us now is the CEO of Marlin Steel. Thank you so much for joining us. So you say you're a big fan of the tariffs. Your company exports to dozens of countries, including China. Chinese leaders now say they're prepared for a full-on trade war with the United States. If China stops buying Marlin Steel, how much of a hit will your business take, or will the tariffs help you in other ways that make up for it?
Tariffs are going to be very good for the American manufacturing worker. We're very excited about this. We're very excited about this new the playing field. Right now, when we export, for example, this basket to Germany, right here, it's precision medical basket and medical device basket. When we ship that to Germany, the German government taxes our clients $128.95 per basket. If a German competitor ships it to America, it's $1.25 per basket. It is so unfair what's happening to the American worker. They can't compete when you have that kind of unlevel playing field. We're talking about an opportunity finally to create a lot of millions of American jobs.
I got some videos to watch here. 6 years ago. Full screen, full screen. Oh, wow, from EPA, huh? A lot of views, but it's something.
Israel and the United States over the Iranian nuclear threat as the Israeli Prime Minister, and certainly as President Trump sees it. What we've seen in recent weeks is that President Trump has kind of opened the door to
Interesting.
with Iran, to direct negotiations to ending Iran's nuclear program, while also making clear that more forceful kinetic options in terms of military options are also very much on the table. And certainly
Iran has got the most views, I guess.
Prime Minister in decades, so you make no mistake, they will be discussing that as well as a few other issues.
That was quick.
Emergency signals on, and moments as after they arrived to the scene of another ambulance that the Palestinian Society says had come under fire, did they themselves also several
This is going to be the end of Instagram live number 9. Good day. Get ready for the setup. Got blocked. Got to watch some cool videos though. This is the biggie, I guess, with the most views. 3,600 views. That is quite a bit, dude. We're gonna have to end this right now in a minute. So. Next time. Good night. Wait for it. We're done here. We're done here.
Identity or the greater
done
identity
here.
you can grow while playing, I believe the much more healthier trick. Unfortunately, depression, anxiety, extremely common post-career. And to me, the key to that is if we can figure out who we are and what we stand for, regardless of rugby, the better off we'll be post, therefore the more we can give back to this beautiful game that has given so much to us. The mentally healthier we will be and continue to strive in all facets of our life. And to me, that is great for the game. It doesn't come down to gender, it doesn't come down to statistics, awards, anything. That is great for the game to have true, authentic, healthy heroes in our game.
Showing that vulnerability is hard when you're meant to be on the pitch, a machine, and unbeatable. I know we've talked before about how difficult it was for you to talk publicly initially about the situations you faced at home, dealing with your father and his issues with alcoholism. How did you get to that point where you realised it was okay to talk about it?
I understand it's extremely difficult for those who are struggling during those dark times. As I've definitely experienced. But all I can say is the journeys you get through and the mountains you climb transform into what becomes your purpose and your reason for giving back. I've just seen nothing but good things come from being vulnerable, being open to it. And I think that's why this campaign is so important, because we are seen as these physically superior, rugby machines. But the truth is, we're human as well. We have mental struggles as well, and that's, I believe, what separates the good players from the great players is their mind, what they choose to make it through. And I think once you understand, it's kind of all really similar. In footy, you've got to be vulnerable, man. You've got to be man. The defense, I'm trying to shut down this whole play. I am potentially, if I read it wrong, putting myself in a vulnerable situation, and I can't be scared of that. I've got to face it head on. It's the same in life, it's not what we let out there, harms us most is what we keep wrapped up tight in, because then it comes out in ways we cannot control, we cannot see coming, and we cannot ensure are healthy. Encourage these kind of conversations, help us get through these things, not alone, but together.
This is you. Knowing every second you have spoken. You're out of retreat. Depression and anxiety will be that. But we'll get you back out.
And Lyme ulcerative colitis symptoms up to me. And now I'm back in the picture.
Nicki Minaj got her own school.
On March 28th, $100 million in pro bono work causes they both agree on. Commitment to merit-based hiring to name a few. You wrote in your resignation notice, quote, like any self-important adolescent, I spent most of my high school history class wondering what I would do in the moments before true horror would ask sacrifice. I do not wonder anymore. I know who I am. I thought I knew we all were. What exactly who we all were? What exactly the deal that Skadden entered in the deal that Skadden entered?
Thanks so much for having me, Jake. And as you pointed out, I didn't know what was in the deal or even that my firm was certain to strike one, but I was troubled by the lack of collective action across the industry, and I felt like the non-answers that I and many others were getting asked the firm what the path forward was, giving assault on what the passion. It felt very likely that Skadden was going to very likely. But I actually can't even comment on the specifics of the deal to this day because they have not been publicized outside of social. And you have Paul Weiss claiming that the deal that the president posted on Truth Social is not exactly accurate to what was agreed. As far as I know, no one within Skadden outside the partnership has seen what was actually agreed to. And so until I know those specifics, I can't comment directly. But I'm concerned by any kind of capitulation to intimidation tactics by the president.
So there is a lot of criticism. Partners like Doug Emhoff, continuing at these firms where they're partners, I suppose means they make a lot of money in addition to doing a lot of work, I'm sure, for staying at these firms. Former Trump administration official and former Paul Weiss attorney here in Camden said, quote, I think people of principle should quit these law firms. You're a lawyer who makes $20 million a year. I appreciate the sacrifice that you might make less money because you might lose clients. But how do you look at yourself, unquote? What do you think of that? And what are you going to do? You weren't making $20 million. You were an associate.
I was not making $20 million, and I would note that everyone was dollars. And as far as I know, there are only three of us, and we all worked with Skadden Arts. None of us were making $20 million a year, but we were still in the top 1% of earners. I think it's telling that we were able to make those positions, not without financial sacrifice, but because we probably have some savings. And I'm so disappointed by the lack of people like criticize you come. It's not enough to just criticize.
Are there any firms doing the right thing? Are there any firms?
There are 9 firms, and there are 9 top 100 law firms. The first target is the first. And I think that while there are other firms, unless prior to Skadden, this one I don't know.
So you're going to see. So you're going to be paid for the Democrats as for the Democrats.
Administration cannot the administration cannot use executive power to see if we allow any
The Trump administration wouldn't want to represent veterans, but what are you worried about? Who are you worried about being?
I mean, I am actually even concerned about veteran representation because a lot of the pro bono work that we've done previously on behalf of veterans is for people who are seeking benefits that the government has not given them. And we know that that's not something that the Trump administration has actually been particularly good on, despite the fact that they claim a lot of support for veterans. Both of my parents are veterans. They served in the U.S. Air Force, and so that is a cause near and dear to my heart. But what I'm particularly concerned about in the very immediate future is attacks that the Trump administration has waged on immigration and justice broadly. Because a lot of that work does happen pro bono at court. That's very, very controversial. Non-negotiable to represent specific non-diverse. That was a war on treason. And I'm concerned that the Trump administration is they're trouble guys. Things like immigration representation and government challenges, like those on behalf of veterans could easily fall into that bucket.
Rachel Cohen, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Stay in touch with our team. I want to find out what happens to you. I assume there's some firm in Chicago that would be eager to see that.
And she's right. Great. China, years, including long-range live fire exercises near the East China Sea, dozens of warplanes, Coast Guard vessels, even Beijing's newest aircraft carrier, the
Shandong, here. Comment,
simulated sea,
subscribe,
circling Taiwan by air and sea, taking Taiwan, the U.S., and its